Hi everyone, and welcome to Squirrel Pie Productions, my podcast about knitting, spinning, and sewing. My name is Tommi, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Dynamite Trujillo. Welcome to episode 37 of my podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to any new viewers. Thank you for checking out my channel. I really appreciate it, and a big welcome back to any returning viewers. Thanks for coming back. Today is a really nice overcast Friday in September on the Northern California coast where I'm coming to you from. It's almost October. Next episode, it's going to be October. We do have a Ravelry group for this podcast. That is where you'll find the show notes. Oh man, for this episode and all previous episodes. It's also where you'll find giveaway stuff and knit along stuff. And we do have a knit along happening right now. That is the Deep Dark Night knit along, and that's a make along. Any craft is welcome, and it's pretty much craft anything that relates to the general vibe of deep dark nightness. A friendly reminder: we do have a theme song for this knit along. It is linked in the, I think, chatter thread. There's a chatter thread and an FO thread that you should go check out. It's got all the info for this knit along. It's also got a link to the theme song, which is called Deep Dark Night. It's a YouTube video. Check it out if you haven't yet. Every single time I think about this knit along, that song goes through my head. And it's our theme song, so check it out if you haven't yet. It's really good. And you guys have been making the most awesome things for this make along, knit along. So thank you so much for participating. I've been having so much fun knitting along with you guys, seeing what you've been making. There's some awesome stuff in the FO thread. There's some awesome stuff in the chatter thread that you guys are working on now. So just thank you for participating. I love this knit along. I can't wait. It's got another month. It's going to run through Halloween pretty much. And we did get our first prize donation in the mail this last week. I'm really excited to share that with you. The lovely Monica from Yarn Experiments donated 2 skeins to the podcast, and one is going to be a prize for this knit along for the FO thread. So here is her yarn. And these 2 skeins are, again, Yarn Experiments, and they're from her Dia de los Muertos collection. I love that so much. I love Dia de los Muertos. It's one of my favorite holidays. I feel like I say that about like a lot of holidays, but it's one of my favorite holidays. And I love it so much. So here's her card. She is on Etsy. Check it out. These yarns are in her shop right now. And the whole collection is absolutely gorgeous. And I was super impressed when I received this yarn in the mail. I think it's beautiful. So these 2 skeins, this one I'm keeping, and this one will be for you for a prize for whoever wins from the FO thread for the Deep Dark Night Cow. So this one, Shiny Monkey, is the base. The colorway is called Night Dame. Perfect is that. Oh my god. Perfect is that. And it's superwash merino nylon and stellina. It's a single ply. And it's stunning. It's a tonal gray with purple tones in it. And it's just beautiful. I saw this and kind of instantly thought about how it would be a really nice pupil for an eyeball shawl. And then this one is the one that you guys are going to be getting. This is on her monkey sock base, which is superwash merino and nylon. And the colorway is Skeleton. So freaking perfect. Look at those subtle speckles. It's gorgeous. I love really subtly speckled yarn like this, where a lot of it's natural and it's just a single color. It's just black speckles. And it is skeleton-y and gorgeous. So this is our first prize, and I'm really, really excited to have this to offer to the winner. And I'll choose the winner after the knit along ends, right after Halloween. So thank you again, Monica. Again, this is Yarn Experiments. Check her out on Etsy. Beautiful, beautiful yarn. And I cannot wait to share this with you. Okay, so I won't throw your yarn. I set it down gently. Okay. Knit along, go check it out. It's so fun. It's so fun. What I'm wearing, I am wearing my Salal cardigan. This was a cardigan that I knit this last summer. It's an Andy Satterlund pattern, and I freaking love this thing. This is one of my favorite cardigans I've ever knit. It's knit out of Green Mountain Spinnery, New Mexico Organic, which is like a DK, I think. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous pattern. It's a cropped cardigan, and it's got this lace detailing here. It's got some on the back too, and it's a real. I just love it. The yarn is non-superwash. It's really natural and woolly, and to have that kind of yarn in this like kind of retro style fitted cropped cardigan, I just love it so much. I love it. I love this cardigan. So that's what I'm wearing. You should totally check out that pattern if you want to, because it's an awesome, awesome pattern. It came out to be a really wearable, really fantastic garment. And Hannah from the Corner of Craft and the Crafty Chat podcast is running a knit along right now for, okay, I can't remember exactly like what it's called or who it's with. She's co-hosting it with somebody too. But it's like a retro cardigan knit along, somewhere along those lines. This cardigan would totally fit in with that. So if you're interested in this style of cardigan, kind of Andy Satterlund, cropped, fitted, to go over a dress kind of thing, check out the Crafty Chat podcast, because she's got a really fun knit along happening right now for that kind of thing. Yes. On to what I've been working on, right? Yes. FOs. I have one FO. I finished my Halloween socks and my entry into the Deep Dark Night knit along, and I love them so much. Here they are. So these are my undead socks, and the yarn for this is Moonstone Dye Works, which is my hand-dyed yarn company, which you can find at moonstonedyeworks.com. That's my fairly new website that I'm super proud of. So this is Moonstone Dye Works in the Stellina sock base in the undead colorway. This was my Halloween colorway for this year. There will be a tiny bit available in the shop coming up tomorrow, which I'll talk about later. And if you try to get it and you don't get it, let me know and I'll dye up more for you. I don't know if I'll dye up any more on my own, but if you guys want it and request it, I will definitely dye it for you. So this is the undead colorway, and I love it so much. They are pinks and greens and blacks, and this is on a vanilla sock. I do a top-down sock, cast on 56 stitches, do a 2x2 rib, and a heel flap and gusset, and then a rounded toe with the Kitchener finish. Here is the other one. And I'm just so happy with how these turned out. I love these socks so much. They fit awesome. And they should, because it's my vanilla sock recipe that I do the same exact way every single time. And I love them. I really love wearing vanilla socks. I more so, though, love knitting vanilla socks. I really also enjoy wearing the Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern. That fits my foot so well because it has more give than a vanilla sock. It stretches a little more, but it also kind of hugs your foot a little bit more than a vanilla sock does, but I just can't not knit a vanilla sock. Like, if I'm knitting socks, all I want to be doing is knitting in the round. I thought about how my next sock cast on might be Hermione's Everyday because I just love wearing them so much, but I don't know. I love knitting vanilla socks so much. I haven't decided yet. I haven't cast on my next pair of socks yet. But anyway, this is like my very favorite recipe formula pattern for vanilla socks ever. I love them. They fit freaking awesome, and I love these socks. So I knit these on a size 1 for the body and a 0 for the cuff. That's what I always like to do. And these were knit on, I think this one was knit on my Haya magic loop, and this one mostly I think was knit on my brand new Chiaogu magic loop 32-inch needle. So I'm super stoked on these. I can't wait to wear them. They are pair number something in my box of socks. I will count one of these days. I keep meaning to count, but I haven't yet. And that's a knit along hosted by Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast. Best knit along ever. I love it. I'm hoping to get to 12 pairs by the end of the year, so we'll see what happens after I actually count how many I've knit already. So that's my finished object. Socks. Bam. On top of it. I don't know what my next socks are going to be yet. I really want to cast on another pair for myself, like right now, but I just don't know. I want it to be some really, really, really beautiful indie dyed yarn is what I want. So I'm going to have to take a look through my stash. I honestly don't have a big stash of indie dyed yarn because every time I buy it, I use it like almost immediately. So I have a few skeins that I saved, and I'll have a look through those and see what I want to do. Next time you'll see what I've chosen. So for what I am working on now is a pair of socks, but they are not for me or for my box of socks. They are for my husband because I love him and I'm knitting him socks, even though I love knitting for myself, and I'm the worst. Okay, so here is the bag that they are living in. This is my Find Me in 746.43 Dewey Decimal System code bag with the Pusheen pin on it. Pusheen's riding a Vespa here, and my lovely husband bought me that pin for my birthday, so it's nice and fitting. Okay, here is the crazy mess that is his socks. I am doing these 2 at a time, but concurrently on 2 different needles. I am knitting these out of Knit Picks Stroll Tweed in the Flagstone Heather colorway. And they're coming along nicely. Here they are. I know, I seem really enthusiastic about these, right? So this is the first one. And I have gotten to the point where I've done the heel flap and the heel turn. And I've picked up all my gusset stitches, so now I just need to decrease back down. And I am knitting these socks on size 1s. I did the cuff on a size 0. I cast on 70 stitches for one sock and 72 stitches for the other sock. And I'm doing a mostly vanilla sock, but with this ribbed detail here for added stretchability. Now, I'll show you the other one, and then I'll talk a little bit about these puppies. The other one, I have just finished the heel flap. And I'm at the point where I just need to do the heel turn, and then I'll pick up stitches for the gusset. And these are both on Haya Hayas. One of them is a Haya Haya Sharp, the other one is a Haya Haya regular. And these socks are not my favorite. I don't love the yarn. I've talked about this before. It's Knit Pick Stroll Tweed, and I'm learning more and more what my issue is with this yarn, why I just don't particularly enjoy knitting with it. It's splitty, and I think that's kind of a known kind of complaint about this yarn, maybe. I think I've heard other people air that grievance as well. But it's not just that it's splitty, because I don't particularly mind a splitty yarn, and I feel like that generally means it's kind of loosely plied, so it unplies really easily, and you can stick your needle straight through the plies if you're not careful. That generally doesn't bother me that much, so I wondered why it bothered me in these socks, and I think I figured out why, because in this first sock, I messed up a little bit. And when I picked back up for the gusset, I started knitting on the front stitches again. So when you knit a heel flapping gusset, you do the heel on one needle, you do the heel flap, the heel turn on a single needle, and then you pick up. And while you're doing that, your front stitches on this front needle are just on hold. You're not doing anything with them the whole time. And then when you pick up the stitches for the gusset, you start knitting across the front stitches again. Now when I did that, I kind of forgot that I was doing this this little ribbed detail. So instead of continuing on with my purls that I was supposed to do for that rib detail, I just did stockinette straight up for like 2 rounds before I realized, oops, I should have done purls on those stitches. So generally what I would do in that situation, it was only like 2 rows, I would just drop down those stitches and reknit them as purls, which should be like super duper easy. And it was not with this yarn. Like, oh my gosh, you guys. I could not believe what a pain in the ass it was to reknit 2 stitches, to drop down 2 stitches, 2 rows, and knit them back up. It was so hard, and I realized why it was so hard is because not only is this yarn loosely plied, it's loosely spun. So when I had 2 live stitches that I was trying to like reknit, I couldn't make out the actual yarn loop because it all just like opened up pretty much into like a little puff of fiber. And so I kept trying to pick up my stitches and knit them back up again. And I was just like, it was like this teeny tiny like little single double stitch of like yarn barf. And I could not get the actual stitches. I kept like splitting it, but not just splitting the plies, like splitting each ply into fibers. And it took me forever. And I still didn't even do it right. So you are like not even going to be able to see this, but this is where it happened. And this one here is the one where I reknit back up. And even, it's right there. It did not end up correctly knit back up. It's like, it's janky, it's wonky right here. And after like a half hour of trying to do it correctly, I just gave up. And this one, hey squirrel. And on this one, you can see that there's purl bumps there. There's a couple of just knit stockinette stitches right there that interrupts it. I just left those because fixing the first 2 stitches was such a fail that I just left the 2 rounds of like plain stockinette to interrupt my little rib. I wasn't even going to do that again. So I could not believe how difficult it was. I've never had that like hard a time fixing 2 stitches that were that close. So, and I think the reason why is because the actual plies are really loosely spun. Squirtle! What's up, kitty kit? Come here. Come on. Come on. Here's Squirrel's cameo. She's my little old lady cat. In case you're new, since the last time she made an appearance, this is the namesake of the podcast. This is Squirrel Pie. Formerly known as Valoria the Squirrel Cat. That's her full name. But she goes by many nicknames, including Squirrel Pie and Squirtle. So that opened my eyes to why it's not that comfortable for me to knit with this yarn. It was just so interesting how hard it was to do that, because that's like not that hard a thing to do, but man, like literally I spent like a whole lunch break home from work like fixing 2 stitches. But anyway, I got to be over it. I just left the other one. So it's fine. It's not like I'm like struggling to get through it or anything like that. It's just not my favorite. And I do have like 1 or 2 more balls of this yarn, I think in brown tweed, that I don't know what I'll do with. They're probably just going to sit in my stash forever. I don't know. We'll see. But it's a nice looking and nice feeling yarn. Once it's actually a sock, once it's all knit up, it's really pretty. It's a nice charcoal gray color. It's tweed. I love tweed. So it looks great. It feels great. It's just not my favorite to knit with. But so anyway, that was my little malfunction with this first one. But I'm coming along, and the second one, I am not going to make that same mistake with. No, sir. I've got it all figured out now. I know what to do. So this is what I have left from each ball. I do have 1 ball left. So if I run out for the foot, I will break into that one. And we're doing it. We are doing it with these socks. I can't wait until they're done. He can't wait until they're done either because he really wants to wear them. So, spousal socks. I am planning on doing my normal toe that I like to do for these socks. I'll rework the numbers and make them fit for 70, 72 stitches. And that will be awesome. That is that. Those are my spousal socks. They're done for today. I have a new cast on, and it is living in my Cats with Antlers bag, which is a bag that I made for myself a very long time ago. This is another spousal knit. This is a hat for my husband. He keeps requesting things, so I keep making them for him. This is going to be a 2x2 ribbed hat all the way up. And the yarn that I'm using is from my favorites section a couple episodes ago. I tell you guys, I buy yarn and I use it. I try to use it right away, and it works for me. I like it. So I caked up this Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. It is in the Bird Book colorway. And my husband chose this color. He wanted a tweed green yarn, and he really likes Brooklyn Tweed. I've knit him another hat with that in the past. And he also was super into the colorway name Bird Book because he's a birder, as am I. He's better at it than me, but he really liked it. So this is the worsted weight version of Brooklyn Tweed's yarn. I love this yarn. So does he. He's got mitts and a hat out of it. And this is what I have so far. So it's 2x2 ribbing so far, and it will be the whole way. I have got my Super Miniatures Taco Progress Keeper on here, which is very fitting for my husband. He's kind of the taco king. So, I used a German twisted cast on for this hat. I'm not following a pattern. I am basically recreating another hat that I knit for him that I didn't quite use a pattern for, but used some of the numbers from Ann Budd's Handy Book of Knitter's Handy Book of Patterns. There's a hat section in there that gives you some numbers. I used a lot of those numbers for that hat, and I'm basing this hat on the first hat that I knit for him. So I cast on 84 stitches on a size 6 needle. Now this is worsted weight yarn, like I said, and I wavered back and forth whether you'd use a 6 or a 7 needle for this hat, and I originally decided on a 6, but then I decided to go up to a 7. And I really wish I would have written it down, but I did not write down what I used for the original hat, because the original hat was perfect, but I didn't write it down. And it was either a 6 or a 7. And at first I thought it was a 6, but now I think it's a 7. So I knit about 1.5 inches with a 6, and I went up to a 7 after that, and now that's what I've got on here. And I think that'll be good because I usually go down a size for the brim or ribbing of a hat anyway. So since this is ribbing all the way up, it's just going to have a little bit of a tighter gauge the first 1.5 inches or so, which I think is going to be good. So I cast on, German twisted cast on 84 stitches, just started doing 2x2 ribbing. I'm going to do 2x2 ribbing until it reaches a certain length, which I'll pretty much just compare to the first hat to. And then I'll start doing some decreases. I haven't figured out yet how I'll decrease to accommodate for the 2x2 ribbing. There's kind of like a standard hat decrease that I got numbers from that Ann Budd book. And the first hat was stockinette. And so that works out really nicely. It just has like this really nice decrease. But I'm not sure how that's going to work with the 2x2 rib pattern. So we're going to see. We're going to see how that goes. I'm going to think about it. And once I get there, I'll think about it. And we'll see what I do. But for now, I'm just doing 2x2 rib. And this is on a size 7 needle. These are my Haya interchangeables. I believe sometimes I might say these are sharps, and sometimes I might say that they are not sharps. They are not the sharps. This is the Haya regular interchangeable needle set. And I've got these on a 16-inch cord. Perfect for a hat. So here's the tag. Brooklyn Tweed. Shelter. I love this yarn so much. I'm a huge Brooklyn Tweed fan. And it's really pretty, it's really light, it's really squishy. And I'm having a lot of fun working on this. Because it's super simple, it's a yarn I love using, and it'll go by really fast. I think it'll be done pretty soon. So here's my little schematic for this. I wrote down kind of what I wanted to do vaguely. We'll see how it goes. Spousal project number 2, spousal hat. So I got socks and hat on for him, and he's going to be warm all winter long. So next up on my needles is my very favorite project of all time. It's the Marled Magic shawl, and that is living in my Ghastly's project bag that I love. I love this shawl so much. This is being knit for the Jinx Woolen Vine Knit Along 2017, and that is Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast and Laura of the Dyer's Notebook podcast co-hosting a knit along for this particular shawl. And this is the Marled Magic by Mr. Stephen West. Oh, I just love it so much, you guys. So this, okay, let's show you this way. That's what it looks like at this point. It's gorgeous. Actually, I think it goes like this. Does it go like this? I don't really know. I don't know. But this triangle section at the top is what I have worked on since I last saw you. And the yarn for this is Moonstone Dye Works in the Undead colorway. And I used my leftovers from my socks for this. And for most of this section, I held that doubled with some Woolen Vine yarns. It's either the Poe or the Nevermore colorway. I cannot remember which is which. One's a dark gray and one's a light gray. This is the light gray one. I think it's Poe. But it came out really beautifully. I did run out of that mini skein right here. And so for this little section up here, I just held the Undead doubled with itself. And I love how it came out. I think it's really pretty, really subtle, and I love it. This section was super fun to knit. I think this was section 4, and it's all garter, which I love. I love garter stitch. And I am knitting this shawl on my size 8s from my Haya interchangeable set. And it's so fun. I love it so much. I love working on this thing. It's so fun. I can't wait to get to the next section to see what happens there. I think it's another garter section, and I think what I might do for that one is a couple different shades of pink. It's a smaller section, so he recommends doing like a pop of color. And I tried to do that for this last garter triangle section too, because he recommends the same sort of thing, but I didn't, obviously. But I've got 2 pinks, one's a fingering weight and one's a lace weight, that I think are going to look really cool together, like really like intense pink. So we'll see. I think that's what I'm going to do for the next section. And, oh, you guys, Stephen West's new mystery knit along started today, the 29th of September. It's like, it's the Speckle and Pop, I think. And I totally went into the Ravelry group to the spoiler page to look at it. I always do that. I did that for the Marled Magic too. I followed it along with the spoiler thread because I'm super interested and curious, but I'm just not gutsy enough to do a mystery knit along. I tried it once, as I've said before, and it did not work out because I didn't like it, so I'm forever traumatized. I will not participate in a mystery knit along. But I always follow along with his in the spoiler threads. And I don't know how I feel about it yet. The first clue for his knit-alongs, I always feel like, oh, I don't know if I like it. And then by the end, I almost always like it. I remember with this one, the first clue was this section here. And I was like, I don't know about that. And then the second section was this one, which was like a crazy ton of seed stitch. And I was like, oh, I definitely am never knitting that because I don't like seed stitch. I don't like knitting seed stitch. But I did it now. So we'll see. We'll see if I end up liking that one later. The only one I think I haven't really been that into once I saw the final product was the building block shawl. That's like one of his only patterns that I'm like, eh. Every single other one though I love. So I can't wait to see how that progresses. I cannot wait. Are you doing it? Are you doing the Speckle and Pop? Are you having so much fun? Are you so like into this first clue? I'm excited for you. I'm so excited for you. Okay, so anyway, the Marled Magic is amazing, and I love it, and I just am having a flippin' blast working on it. Here is the leftover Undead that is still attached to the shawl right now, and I don't know what I'll do with the rest of it. Probably put some in my crochet blanket. We'll see. I love it. I love it. My last project that I've been working on this week, is a tale of woe. It's a sad, sad tale of woe. Of misfortune and doing wrong math stuff. But it's living in like one of my favorite project bags ever. This is a Fat Squirrel Speaks project bag, and I love it. It's got skulls on it. It's got goats on it. Skulls and goats are like my favorite things. So this is my Even Flow. This is a cardigan by Joji Locatelli, and it's gorgeous and wonderful, and I love it. And I have done it the injustice of doing some numbers wrong. But here's what I have so far. It is really, really pretty. I am using Blue Moon Fiber Arts Socks That Rock, medium weight, in the Bittersweet colorway. Gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. Here's it up in the cake. And I have gotten pretty far on this thing. I've knit all of this, and I would say about right here is where I went wrong. So as I have been like bragging about, I've got my handy little sheet of paper where I've copied down all of the stuff that I have to do so that I don't actually have to read the pattern. I can just refer to my little chart. Now I did the chart wrong for the increase section. So you increase every certain amount of rows, which is a different number than the stitch pattern number. So I won't give you the actual numbers. I don't know how like intrusive that is on the pattern, but I will make something up. So here are my made up numbers. So you increase every 19th row, and it is a 13 row stitch repeat, not stitch repeat, pattern repeat, right? So I went through and I figured out which row of which repeat I needed to do my increase rows on, because that's the way that I know to keep track of that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like you increase every 19th row, but you're keeping track of your rows and pattern repeats, which is a different number. Anyway, it's the easiest way for me to keep track of it. And what I do is so at the beginning, before I start my increase rows, I write out in number form on paper the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way through to 13. Because that's how many rows there are in a repeat. And then I go through and I count 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then when I get down to 13, I go back up to the top and continue until I get to 19. And that's how I know what row to increase on. And I keep track of the pattern repeat each time I go down and up. That's pattern repeat. That may not make sense. It makes sense in my head, right? And it works. It's a good way for me to do it, except when you do it wrong. So for some reason with this one, I switched it. Instead of writing down 1 through 13 and counting my 19 rows, I wrote down 1 through 19 and I counted 13 rows. So that made my increase rows totally off, like completely off. So I increased way too fast. So far I got like halfway through my increase rows. So yeah, I got halfway through the increase rows. And way back, I'd say up here somewhere is where I started increasing too fast. And so I'm going to rip back. Yeah. Totally my own fault. I just was not paying attention. Sometimes you just your brain mixes things up and you just get it wrong. I'm really happy I noticed when I did. I noticed on this last increase row, because you're supposed to increase every 19 rows. Well, it had only been 7 rows since I increased last, and I was about to increase again. I was like, that seems really fast. How come I'm increasing already? And I went back and it just hit me you did this all wrong. And I'm like, oh man. Oh well, whatever. It doesn't kill me to rip back and to have wasted knitting or whatever. But I am going to have to sit down and figure out how to do that so that I know exactly where I'm ripping back to in terms of rows and repeats. Because I have to get back to where I know exactly where I am in the pattern again. So I'm going to do some counting. This stitch pattern is pretty easy to track in terms of repeats. So you've got these stitches that are kind of crossed here and here, and every time they go in a different direction. So it's pretty easy to track repeats. So I'm just going to figure out where I can rip back to, and what I'll do is I'll do an afterthought lifeline, which means I will go in with a needle and thread and pick up one leg of every stitch all the way across, and then rip back to that point, put it back on the needle, start knitting again. Yes. So this all happened last night, that I realized this. I was knitting on this last night at 9 o'clock at night, and that's when it hit me, and I realized what I did. I realized what I needed to do, and then I just put it away. So I don't know when that'll happen. Hopefully soon, because I really want to get going on this sweater again because I love it. But hopefully soon I will fix it, and then I can keep going on it. I got pretty far, so I am kind of sad that I lost all this progress. But I did try it on. I did think about just saying, oh well, and just continuing with the correct increases. But I tried it on and I realized it's just too drastic. I really do think it's going to affect the way this thing wears. So it's really pretty, right? That's what I've got so far, and I do love it. I think it's going to fit great. But you can kind of see how fast this thing starts to increase right here. And I mean, I just know it's not supposed to increase that fast. So, oh well. But yes, I am knitting these on size 6 from my Knit Picks interchangeable set, the wooden needles. And I did also last night try to switch these over to my new Lucca needles, which I purchased one interchangeable needle size, a size 6. Accidentally a 40-inch cord. I meant to purchase a 32-inch cord, but I read the Amazon listing wrong and got a 40-inch cord. So I thought I'd try to switch to those needles for this because they're new and I wanted to use them, and I'm not too concerned about gauge changes with needle switching. I don't care. But they didn't work that well with this pattern. They're, at least with this yarn in this pattern, it was like super grippy. So things were like sticking. So I did 2 rows and I was like, they're not working for this project. So I switched it back to my knit picks. The knit picks are actually starting to bug me a little bit because they're starting to like wear at the tips. So they're getting a little rough at the tips, but they're better for this project than the Lucca needles. So I put them back on this. Also, I think the cable is too long. When do I ever use a 40-inch cable? We'll see. But, so that's my tragic story behind the Even Flow. If I did not mention it yet, Even Flow is a Joji Locatelli pattern. She is a wonderful genius pattern writer. It's a fantastic pattern and I love it. And I can't wait to fix it and get back to being on track with it because I really, really, really want this sweater. I really hope this doesn't sit in timeout. We'll see. I hope it doesn't. I hope I get back to it soon. Yes, that's what's happening with that. You know, it happens. You gotta do it sometimes. Sometimes you gotta reknit stuff. It's good. Knitting's fun. That's why we do it. So that is all my knitting for this week. I do have a shop update that is going to be happening tomorrow, which is Saturday, September 30th at moonstonedyeworks.com. So check that out if you're interested. It's going to be a relatively small update. I will show you some of the things that I have back here. So I will have some Undead on Stellina sock. I will have a one-of-a-kind colorway that I did not necessarily write down the formula for, so I will not be dyeing again. And I have not named it yet. But here are a few skeins of it. It's a really pretty, kind of pinkish, tealish, greenish colorway. And I really like how it came out, but unfortunately I did not write down what I did. And here is a colorway that I have called Oregon Girl. And this is only available right now on the Natural Merino base, which is my non-superwash fingering weight yarn. Merino yarn. Falkland Merino yarn. So I'll have a few skeins of that and a couple more things that are drying right now. But check out the shop tomorrow, Saturday, September 30th at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time at moonstonedyeworks.com, and I hope you'll be there. And I did want to say thank you so much to everybody who checked out the launch of my new website a couple of weeks ago and left such fantastic and nice and encouraging comments on the website itself. So thank you if you have visited, and thank you to those of you who said nice things about it. I really appreciate it. That was really, really nice to hear. So thank you. And next up, I am going to talk about a cross-stitch project that I've had on the hoop for like 2 years, and I want so bad to be able to frame it and put it up on my wall every autumn, and I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to do it for this year. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. So this is a cross-stitch pattern by Subversive Cross Stitch, which is a company that I love. They do cross-stitch patterns that are full of cursing and snarkiness, and I think they're amazing. And they put out this cross-stitch pattern. I bought it immediately and started it and then put it down and never worked on it again. So the name of this cross-stitch pattern is, and what it actually says is, it's decorative gourd season mofos. Only it's not, mofos is not shortened. It's the full thing. And then it's got little gourds on the bottom, little pumpkins and stuff. And I'll show you what I have so far. But it's not much. The only thing I have so far is the actual, like, cursing part. So you can't even really see it because I'm going to cover most of it up. But that's what I have so far. You can guess what it looks like underneath that. So pretty much what I have left to do is it needs to say it's decorative gourd season, and then there's a bunch of pumpkins and stuff under here that I need to do. And I think this is hilarious. So the term "it's decorative gourd season, mofos" comes from an article that was written that is super, super funny. And I will link to it in the show notes. If you are into colorful language and humor, I think you should check it out. It's really funny. It's all about autumn and how autumn is decorative gourd season. And it's super funny. And she made this cross-stitch pattern based on that. And it's so perfect for right now. So I really want to finish it up. I've got all my supplies with it. So I've got all my thread, my needles, it's all ready to go. I've got the pattern printed out. I just need to finish this thing, and it could be super quick and easy. And I really want to make it and frame it and hang it on my wall in my living room every autumn. So hopefully that will be ready soon so that I can have it ready for at least by November of this year. I really, really want to do that. So that's my favorite, my very long-standing cross-stitch whip that I want to bang out. Gonna do it. Super totally gonna do it this year. I've tried like several times to break this thing out again, and I keep giving up on it. Because while I love cross-stitch, I give up on it really easily. But I'm doing it. It's happening. You heard it here first, guys. It's happening. So check that out, Subversive Cross Stitch. They're awesome and hilarious, and they have a lot of really cool patterns. Okay, so that is it for this episode of Squirrel Pie Productions. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I had a super fun time recording, and I'm super stoked that I had my furry cameo co-host with me today a little bit. I hope you guys are having a great autumn so far. I hope you're staying healthy, and I hope you are well. I hope you are knitting a lot. Join the Deep Dark Night Cal if you want to. Go check it out in the Ravelry group. There's some amazing stuff over there, and you have the chance to win some fantastic prizes. If you liked this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not yet. Have a fantastic week and weekend. I hope it's beautiful where you are. I hope you are loving everything you're doing right now. Have fun and stay awesome. Bye, guys.